All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. It's Monday, May 11th, 2020. The City Council Committee on Finance. We're calling this meeting to order. I want to thank everybody for coming into the meeting. Madam Clerk, can you do a roll call, please?
Chairman Iglesias.
Present.
Vice Chairwoman Ryan.
Present.
Councilman Castillo.
Present.
Councilman Anthony. Absent. Councilman Taylor.
Here.
4 present and 1 absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let the record reflect that Council President Matos is present. Councilman President Pro Tem Correa is present. The Treasurer Lombardi is present. The Internal Auditor is present. Councilwoman Kerwin is present. City Solicitor Kenny Shiverini is present. I think I have, and also Councilman Pedro Espinal is present. Thank you. So before we get to swearing in, I want to take a moment, by the way, just to thank once again the city clerk, the city clerk and all the city clerks and assistants. They've been doing a great job. It's important to acknowledge the hard work they do. I also want to thank them. They've been doing, these meetings like practically every night. Last week was I think it was every night last week. So I want to thank them for that. I also want to say they did a great job on every night last week, also especially on Fridays, the council meeting. You guys should be proud of yourself. You're keeping government and democracy moving, and I want to thank you all. Let the record reflect that Anthony is present. And Madam Clerk, Councilman Anthony, can you unmute? It's muted, right? So can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No problem. Just want to make sure you have it. And then we're going to try like we always do. I think Vice Chair Ryan mentioned about, I guess you can get the icon for the hand up. I'll do my best to make sure I get to the members and see them first. All right. So and if not, give me a little wave and we'll do the best we can. Thank you, Vice Chair. All right.
Yes.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we swear in everybody from, I guess, Mr. Mancini, to Ms. Silvera, who's the CFO. Chief Financial Officer, and Mr. Parada, and et cetera, et cetera. So why don't we start off with that, Mr. Clerk or Madam Clerk?
Thank you. Could all of the city staff and anyone else planning to testify, please raise your right hand, swear under a penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
And Mr. Rector, Mr. Mancini acknowledged, Mr. Parada acknowledged, Ms. Silvera acknowledged. Did Mr. Hockman acknowledge? He's muted.
I do.
Okay. And Mr. Urso?
Yes, I do.
I think that's it. All right. Thank you. What I do next, Madam Clerk, why don't we read? We're going to be in motion take items 1 through 5 up. Motion take items 1 through 5.
So
By
moved.
Vice Chair.
Second.
By Councilman Taylor. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. As part of housekeeping, I know the administration provided the latest exhibit, which is identified as B8 to our budget deliberations. And I'd like to enter that into the identified as B8 document. It's a multi-page document identified as 101-305. It includes it's the entire Department of Public Works, from traffic engineering, public works administration, engineering and sanitation, environmental control, highway, snow removal, sewer construction, and garage R&M equipment, and parking administration. And it also has accompanied 20 pages of 3-box reports that are assigned to each one of those divisions. Went through in the record as Exhibit B8 for budget negotiation. The Vice Chair makes that motion.
Moved.
Second.
Do I have a second? Councilman Taylor, discussion. All in favor? Okay. So, Mr. Mancini, I presume you would like to begin the presentation. Do you want to start off first?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, good evening, Madam President, and fellow council members, good evening. Mr. Chairman, continuing with the format that this committee is accustomed to witnessing, we'll start off in Division 101-305, known as Traffic Engineering. This is a revenue-generating department. The revenue this year is budgeted at $400,000. That's a decrease of $20,000 from the FY20 budget of $420,000. And revenue decrease is driven by lost scooter fees and potential reduction in construction in the city. Expenditures, starting with salaries for FY21, are budgeted at $628,425, a decrease of $9,536 from the FY20 budget. This decrease is due to an increased attrition as the city plans to delay posting vacancies and will not be filling non-essential positions in FY21. Benefits for FY21 is budgeted at $449,245. That's an increase of $38,605 over the prior year budget. And services for FY21 total $265,000, a decrease of $190,000 from the FY20 budget of $455,000. This decrease is due to a reduction in Don't Block the Box programming, along with line striping expenses, which were moved to the CIP as part of the street paving program this coming year. Supplies, total supplies are budgeted at $65,000, which is consistent with the prior year budget, and there are no capital expenditures in the general fund for this particular division. With that said, Mr. Chairman, if there are no questions on the narrative, I'll turn your attention to the 3-box report. And this page
Yes,
is marked as...
you're going to Mr. Mancini, you're going to the 3-box report for traffic engineering, is that correct?
That is correct. I have...
And then we'll go...
Page
then when
48.
you're done, okay, so then when you're done with that, then you're gonna go, then after questions, then you go to Public Works Administration, then go to the 3-box report, right? That's how we're gonna do it?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if you have no objection, I think it would be fair for the committee's best to allow me to go through all the narratives, all the 3 boxes. If you prefer to take questions at each interval of each division, so be it. But whatever your preference, sir.
Yeah, let's do one department, let's do traffic administration, traffic engineering, then go to the 3-box report for traffic engineering, and then the committee of the council members have questions out. We're gonna take it, all right?
What
Page would be the 3-box report, sir?
Page 48.
Thank you.
Okay. So page
Yes, sir.
48. Again, as I had said in my narrative, this is a revenue generating department. You'll see that for the, if you look to the left-hand side of the page and that box, revenue for miscellaneous revenue is at $300,000, and then the detailed salary revenue is at $100,000 for the FY21 budget, and we're showing a reduction of $20,000 in the detailed salary revenue in that particular category. If you look to the center box, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, comparing the current year to a projected current year, we're looking at, in the miscellaneous revenue category, we're expected to be at budget or slightly better at $300,282. And likewise, with the detailed salary revenue, we're expected to be at budget. This department expects to finish the year with no diminishment of revenue. I should say this division expects no diminishment of revenue. If I may, I'd like to continue with the expenditures, page 49.
Yes, please.
And again, if I can direct your attention to the left-hand side box, as you look at salaries are showing a reduction of $34,046, budget 21 over budget 20. Continuing in the salary categories, overtime will have an increase of $25,000 over the prior year, and callback will stay level at $5,000. Moving further down the salary columns, longevity will stay approximately the same. There'll be a $490 reduction. The benefit columns are generally not under the purview of the department, Mr. Chairman. That's basically what we call non-departmental, and finance basically works with our outside actuaries to arrive at medical and retirement or pension calculations. Continuing down the left side of the page, repairs to equipment, account code 52905, will remain at $75,000, level funded year over year, while maintenance and service will decrease by the $190,000 I spoke about in my narrative, due to the fact that we're no longer enforcing the Don't Block the Box, and that the various and assorted lane and road striping will be incorporated into the CIP project this year. Continuing further, small tools and supplies will stay level at $5,000, as will traffic signs stay level at $60,000. If you might, Mr. Chairman, there is nothing on page 50. It's the summary sheet, so I'd like to then direct your attention to the center box, and we'll talk about FY20 budget versus FY20 projected. So for the projection, we're looking at a slight overage in salaries at $6,093, and that may be due to not having enough savings through attrition. Overtime is expected to project out at $27,800 greater and than budgeted, while a callback about $1,116 greater. Longevity is right at budget. Benefits are, again, a function of the finance department. Repairs to equipment should come in just under budget. And likewise with maintenance and service. We're seeing some small savings in maintenance service this year based on projections thus far. And as I continue down, small tool supply, again, just under budget, as is traffic signs, again, seeing a savings of about $4,200. This department overall should finish the year at slightly above budget at $25,000. Much of that, if not all of that, is associated with benefits and or salary. At this time, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I will entertain questions, or I will have questions referred to the director and his associate directors who are online with us tonight.
Yes, Nate, is the traffic engineer, Mr. Urso?
Yes.
How you doing? So this unit of the department comes under your purview, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and how many folks are in your shop?
There's 9 people that work in traffic engineering. Not
9
including
in total?
myself. Myself,
And quickly, can you just give a general overview of what the traffic engineering department does? Very quick. Like, what does it do?
we're basically, we oversee the maintenance and engineering and design of traffic controls in the city. So large portion of the staff is devoted to maintenance of traffic signs, traffic signals, striping, and so forth. We also get involved in traffic studies. As I'm sure many of you are aware, we're involved heavily in traffic calming and also review of traffic-related entities for many projects that are going on in the city. So.
So just as for a note of housekeeping, Director Parada, when you send the organizational chart, can you make it a little bit bigger? It's very, very small. It's very difficult to read. So can you forward a better reading chart by tomorrow, please?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. So let me ask this question. You have 9 employees in your shop, Mr. Urso? Yeah. And presently right now, are all 9 reporting to work every day?
We do have some reduced staffing. It's not necessarily full-time, but they are coming in on a reduced schedule.
So explain to me that. So you got 9 positions. Tell me. Okay, so we'll start from the top. Okay. So because the organizational chart only shows one, I barely can see it. So we have you. Are you teleworking?
I'm doing both. Sometimes I to come in just because I need to handle signs and other matters, and sometimes I'm telecommuting.
Okay. So now, I know. So I guess the first thing is, well, before I get to that, so let's talk about, so who's coming into work? Anybody, who's coming into work physically? Who's actually walking into the job?
Well, there's about 7 people that are maintenance people that they can't telecommute. They go out, they fix signs, they fix the traffic signals, they make signs.
Are they doing that every day?
Yeah, there are people that are working every day.
No. I appreciate it, and I'm going to try to be as specific as possible. Let me try this. Tell me exactly what person in what position is actually coming into work every day, getting their assignments, and going out into the field. Let's go on the list of the positions. So let's start off that first. I know some do, some don't. So let's go one by one. So let's start with you. You say what you're doing is you're teleworking, and you're also coming in, you're saying. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
Do you have a computer, do you have a city computer and a city phone?
Yes, I do.
Are you connected to the city system on your computer so you can give give out orders and explain what's going on, email and text?
Yeah, I am set up to work remotely and actually to remotely connect it to my city computer, so I have access to city network drives and so forth, and city email and so forth.
So you've been issued a city computer and it's connected to the city system? That's what I'm asking.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so now let's go to the next level. The next person, tell me who else, let's go to the next step. Let's talk about what positions and who's coming into work every day, getting assignments, getting whatever equipment and going out into the field. Tell me which ones, who's doing that.
Well, we can talk about the traffic sign maintenance people.
So
They are coming
you
in.
have, so what positions are those, sir? Are those the engineering aide? Are those the dep? So let's go down, I'll make it easy. I'll go down the list for you, ready? So, we got the assistant chief engineer. Is the assistant chief engineer coming into work every day?
Yeah, I don't think that's a filled position. I think if you look at there's the traffic
Okay,
engineer.
All right, so the assistant, so this is, okay, because I'm looking at this.
You're looking under
And
engineering. Should be traffic engineering.
Yeah.
I see assistant chief, I'm looking under,
You're looking
Public
wrong.
Works.
Should be public works, traffic engineering.
okay. Public Works Traffic, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page, I'm sorry, you're correct, thank you. Was it Councilman Taylor? Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
So let's go, so let's start off this one. So we have, all right, managing engineer, that's a new position you're looking for, is that correct?
I think that might be engineering also.
I think it's in Public Works Traffic Engineering.
Yeah, that's the right one. You're in the right one.
So I guess so so I may be wrong here, so let's try this. I'm looking at titles, managing engineer, traffic engineering electrician, traffic marker and sign person, traffic sign maintenance person, traffic sign maintenance person helper, traffic signal maintenance foreperson, traffic systems analyst. Are those your positions, sir?
Yes, I think a couple of them there aren't necessarily filled positions, but
I recognize that, so let me stop, okay. Mr. Parada?
Yes, if I can. So the managing engineer is not a position that is currently in the budget or filled. So that should not be there. It's the traffic engineer.
But it's in the proposed budget, Mr. Parada.
I believe that's just a misnomer. It is the traffic engineer. So I think it was just a title change that they're looking to do, but they did not do. So.
Okay, so we'll take care of that. So now let me go to the next level then. Is there a traffic engineering electrician? Do you have one of those folks?
Yes.
All right, the traffic engineering electrician coming into work every day, getting assignments going to the field.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're bringing them in on a reduced schedule. They're coming in 2 days a week.
That's not what I'm asking you. I'm going to go one by one. So tell me what schedule the traffic engineering electrician's on. I'll give you an example. I just so happen to manage a few hundred people myself, all right? And we know who's in, who's out, who's working, who's teleworking, what's the expectation of work product and the cycle of work, stuff like that. So that's what we're doing and what I'm doing. So I'm going to go one by one. I'm going to make it as simple as possible. Your traffic engineer electrician, explain to me, since the COVID-19 to the present, tell me what is their work schedule specifically? That person, that position. Do they come into work every day and get assignments to go do the job? Do they sit at home and get jobs emailed them and they're out there doing the job and then someone follows them so they did the job? Are they sitting home and not doing any work and getting paid? Or so, Director Parada, can you tell me where your traffic engineer electrician is?
I will answer
the
question. Sure. So the electrical engineer and the foreman for the traffic signal division, they're coming in alternate days, 1 day on, 1 day off, every day.
Okay.
So one person.
So they're coming 1 day on and 1 day, are they on the day off? So they're doing 1 day on, so they're getting paid for the full day off, right?
That's correct.
So they're still getting paid for their day off completely
That's correct.
and without charging off time, okay. So that particular case is, so what you're doing is you're giving this person, basically they're coming in 50% of the time and but you're paying them 100%.
That's
Is
correct.
this right?
Yep.
So the question is what, okay, so you're doing a 50-50 on that. So are you still able to keep up the work? So clearly there's not overwhelming work, that clearly all the work's being done during 50% of the time, is this correct?
Yeah,
Well,
they're-
right now, that's the case, but there is other stuff they need to do, maintenance, et cetera. So they will continue in a more commanding fashion.
In a 50-50?
No, it'll ramp up as we go along. One of the keys that we've been looking at is they only have one vehicle. So we're trying to keep the men safe and keep them separate. So they alternate. One day, one person's on, the next day, someone else is on. So that we're trying to keep them as safe as possible while also getting the work done.
So let's talk about the one vehicle.
Yep.
Director, let's talk about the one vehicle. So the traffic engineering electrician, I have it as there's only one traffic engineering electrician.
There's also a
Okay,
foreman,
so
too.
when they go out to the field, do they have a vehicle assigned to them? And you're saying they don't or do?
There's one bucket truck that's assigned to 2 people. So they usually travel together. So they're going
The
separate.
traffic engineering electrician drives the bucket truck?
Right. And so does the foreman. They work together. So they're working separately right now.
To drive the bucket truck, don't you need to have proper licensing, like CDL and all that to actually operate it?
They're properly licensed, yes.
So there's a foreman. Is the foreman an engineering electrician?
His official title is the foreman. He does have electrical license.
So I know, but what I'm asking you is, does the foreman do the job of the traffic engineering electrician? Is that what you're saying?
That's
They do the
separate
same
position.
job?
They're
Okay, they're
interchangeable.
separate.
They're separate
Wait,
jobs.
are they interchangeable or separate jobs? Because one gets paid 75 change, the other one gets paid 64.
Right, one is the
So what I'm
foreman.
trying to understand is, if you had 2 traffic engineering electricians, then I can see you talk about the one off, one on, right? But you have a traffic signal maintenance foreperson, which is a different, I presume, than a traffic engineering electrician. Are you saying now that they're exactly the same position, doing the exact same work?
No, one is a 4-person, so they have more responsibility.
Okay, and the traffic engineering electrician and 4-person always are in the same truck all the time?
Yes,
So the traffic to the maintenance 4-person, they need the bucket truck, I guess, right? Because they're
that's
gonna make,
correct.
traffic engineering electrician, what do they do?
They maintain the traffic signal, so they'll go up in the bucket, repair the lights, make sure that they're functioning properly. That's basically what they do on a regular basis to make sure the traffic signals are operational.
That's the traffic signal maintenance for a 4-person, right? Okay, so let's talk about how do they get their work? Is it every morning you guys have a laundry list of work to be done and they're detailed out?
There could be special projects, some issues at certain signals, but they have a routine of maintenance. They go, there's 193 signals in the city, and they go from one signal to the other, replacing certain electrical equipment, checking each signal as they go. So
So I guess the question is that has the job been able to have they still able to maintain the 193? So their job is just to maintain 193 signals. That's what their job is completely?
plus troubleshooting if there's certain issues at a signal that come up, we get calls from the police or other times.
No, but their job is just traffic signals. That's what they do, right? They're the maintenance, keepers, fixers of traffic signals in the city of Providence, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And so what you do is you send, and you're saying for the record, the traffic signal maintenance 4-person and traffic engineering electrician are interchangeable. They both have, I guess, do you need an electrician's degree?
For both, yeah.
So both of them are
Not a
electricians and both
degree,
need,
but an electrician's license.
they both have electrician's license?
Yes,
Okay. Gina, will you double check that aspect? And so the way you're working is you're just bringing one in one day, the other one another day, but you're still paying them full time, right? Have you
That's
issued them masks and gloves and sanitizing equipment?
Yes, we have.
yes.
So, the question I have for you is, so that's what you're doing there. All right. Are they both in the union?
Yes,
What
they are.
position
Yes.
Union? Okay, all right. Have you spoken to the union to talk about doing split shifts? In other words, instead of having a person sit home, doing nothing and getting paid full-time, that you do split shifts? Or rent
Yeah.
another bucket truck?
We are doing split shifts in other divisions where it's practical. In other areas, it's more practical to do one day.
Okay.
I think it's the nature of the work where there's some consistency.
Okay.
So,
So let me go to the next one. Traffic signal maintenance person, there's 5 of them, is that correct?
that's correct.
Are
Yes.
they in the same
Sign
truck?
maintenance.
Or
So
I'm
you
sorry?
have 2
traffic
trucks.
sign maintenance person, I'm sorry. You have 5 of them, right?
So you have one person who's a sign maker and 4 people who are in the field, putting up signs, repairing signs, putting in posts. There are 2 vehicles assigned to those 4 people. So
And what have you been doing with them?
Once
Out of
again,
those 5, I presume the sign maker must be working all the time, right? Because he works alone or she works alone, right?
well, that depends on, once again, it's a couple days a week, depending upon demand and keeping her safe as well as the 2 people that come in, we bring them in on alternating days as well for the
So
assignment.
let's talk about the sign maker, Mr. Director. So are you saying that the normal rule is that if the sign maker doesn't have too much work to do anyway in general, you just send them home and pay them anyway? Is that what
No,
you're
that's
saying?
not the case. We're just trying to keep people safe within the building.
No. Director, I checked that box off. I appreciate that statement. That's the go-to statement. We're talking about how the management of the department's been running and what's been happening. I appreciate it. I understand people are very sensitive. I recognize that. We check if they want everybody to be safe, we want everybody to be protected, etc. We are not devaluing that. But that cannot be the simple answer. So let's get to the management of the people on the job. Because right now you have a department that most of them are home, sitting there, getting paid full time, doing nothing. You have to, besides saying to be safe, you have to talk about justifying paying most of your staff sitting home, doing nothing, and getting paid, while other people are in, while basically my constituents are losing their jobs. Okay? Not sitting home, not getting paid, and not having a job. So we have to work on the justification. I appreciate the safe, but that's only going to go so far, because industries and businesses and other departments of public works have worked out this process and have been rolling along and keeping the workers safe and sound by using reasonable, practical, proven methods. In fact, if you take a look on the highways as we speak, every one of the jobs are working 100% right now based on working with the contracting unions and applying safe practices. And guess what? We're moving along and buildings are getting built, roads are being fixed, and bridges are being built. So we didn't use that as the go-to excuse. We used it as a challenge. So I'm going to go back, because you guys still have to justify why you have everybody sitting home, doing nothing, and getting paid. Okay? So you have 5. So now let's talk about that. Your traffic engineer, electrician, and traffic signal maintenance person, you're doing 50-50. They're coming in one day, staying home another day, getting paid, on and off, 1-1. Okay? That's what you're saying. And so do you have a chart on how that's working for those 2 folks, Mr. Urso? How do you know what day they come in? Because there's 5 days, 2 people. So someone's getting a 3rd day in a week, right?
Yeah, there's a schedule that we have assigned to them.
Please provide that specific schedule to the internal order. And let's talk about the 5 people now. One makes a sign, but you're saying So that person comes in how many times a week? Because you're saying based on making signs.
She's in roughly 2 times a week. There's additional work as urgent matters are needed.
So the sign maker comes in 2 times a week and gets paid 5 days, right? Okay.
I mean, there's certain weeks that she came in more than that, but
Well, I understand now you guys trying to play the catch up, but we'll get into that. Because guess what? The timesheets will tell the tale. When those people when they're staying home, getting paid, doing nothing, do you have a different notification on the timesheet, or you guys not even identifying that?
Everything's being identified.
What is it identified as? Internal audit, do you know how they identify it as? Internal auditor?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. How does the city identify the person who's staying home, getting paid full pay without working?
That has a payroll code of HER. Or HER is they're working regular. HEN means that they are non-essential in their home.
And getting paid full time, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right. And gentlemen, that's what the timesheets will show?
That's correct. I believe it's HEER.
Gina, make sure you pull all their timesheets and confirm that's the case, okay? So let's go to the next thing. So with the one person, you got the sign maker comes in twice a week. What happens with the other 4 people, Mr. Urso?
they have alternating schedules. I mean, they have 2 trucks, so we're trying to keep one person to a truck just to minimize exposure. And
So what happens is what happens to they come in. So one person may come in. How many? So there's only 2 trucks. There's four people. So you'll have one person per truck. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we alternate roughly half-day schedules, so they don't have to, so you don't have to have a situation where you have more than one person to a truck.
Okay, so more than one person. So tell me, what do they have to do? Are they in the road? Are they in the road performing these traffic sign maintenance projects?
Yeah, they're repairing signs, adding signs. We've been busy with many traffic control projects, and so forth. Yeah, that's.
So
that's what it entails.
How do you handle the safety portion? Is there a reason why there's actually originally why there's 2 people on the truck?
Well, I think when we do have traffic control, it varies. I think, for example, when we've been putting out.
Do we need 4 people anymore? Why? Seems to me that if you're telling me that you just need one person per truck, then why do you need? And one person in the truck can do the job of 2. Then why do we need the additional 2 people?
Well, I think
we definitely need 2 people per truck typically. However, to make it safe, we're using 1. The other issue would be it would be great if we had 4 trucks for 4 different people. We don't. We have 2. So we basically try to, maximize the use of whatever vehicles we have by having 2 people per truck. They may be a little bit more efficient in terms of getting a job done with 2. Someone can hold a signpost while someone's putting in a stub. But they have to work a little differently when it's 1 person.
There's certain larger signs you need 2 people to put up also.
So at this time, larger signs, they are not being put up at this time, during this time?
Not necessarily. If you look at the way the schedule is, we do have 2 trucks. So there could be a situation where you have 2 people in and they could go put one of these larger signs, like a speed camera sign, and so forth.
Okay, so do you have the amount of how many signs replaced or fixed by, when prior to COVID-19? Do you have a readout of how many signs are replaced or installed or fixed with the 2 trucks with 2 people on it? How many how many have been done?
We could probably get that. I mean, we do keep record of work orders. I mean, we could probably give you a number of work orders.
How does a sign get replaced or fixed? How does it work?
Well, we get it from various sources, 311. Sometimes council people call us. Sometimes we do surveys ourselves, missing. The police tell us, so forth. There's various. So, you know, if the replacement, repair, or addition requires a new post, we have to dig safe that first. And one of the traffic system analysts handles that. And once that's done, they can send it out. If it doesn't require a new location where we have to check to see if there's underground utilities, we basically make the work order and give it to one of the traffic and maintenance persons. So.
Okay. I have you, Vice Chair. I just want you to, Mr. Urso, can you provide to the internal auditor tomorrow the number of signs that in each truck or whatever has been put up per day, per week, per month, and what kind of signs? Okay.
Okay.
You must have a matrix, like a running list saying, look, hey, we've done 1,000 signs this year. We've done 500 signs this year. We've done 100 signs this year.
We can give you a list of work orders.
So you guys don't keep a running tally?
Not necessarily number of signs, number of work orders. Some workers vary. Some work orders vary from 1 sign to 2 signs. So we.
Well, Vice Chair, and then I have more questions, but Vice Chair?
Just following up on that line of questioning, Mr. Chair, Mr. Urso, how many outstanding work orders do you have right now? You haven't installed, you haven't replaced, you haven't fixed. How many are sitting idle?
Some waiting to be replaced. I don't have a number.
Okay, could you provide that as well?
Yeah, it could be a dozen or 2 dozen possibly.
Thank you.
Just to go very quick, so you're more on when we do traffic signs, like stop signs and those kinds of, it's a reactive aspect, is that correct?
We also do surveys. We go out and do surveys of award and so forth, and we do take note of missing signs and repair those. It's not completely reactive. We do surveys.
Right, so when are the surveys done?
They're typically done in adverse weather, where it's a little less advantageous to go out and repair signs, you know, using electrical equipment in wet weather and so forth. So
let me ask you this question. Knowing that there are hundreds of city vehicles sitting idle right now doing nothing, couldn't you have done, like, at least sent the other 2 workers during the week to survey the entire city, since there's no traffic, no cars on the road, and you could actually do ward by, you could have done through this series, have actually surveyed practically the whole city with those folks who are, instead of sitting home doing nothing, you could have put them in like a typical Taurus, a simple 4-door van, a car, and have them start doing the survey work. So they're actually doing something productive. So instead of, so what about doing that versus having them sit home and do nothing and get paid?
You know, I think you get back to the belief that we're just trying to minimize people's exposure. I think. Oh no,
I agree with you. And you're going to minimize. You're going to minimize them by sitting in a car alone, driving around the city, taking a survey. So that's no different than the next day when the person comes in, sitting in the city truck, putting up a sign. They're still separated. They've still got distance. Okay. Your guys are giving excuses why not to work versus how to make it work. So my question to you is, when's the last time you surveyed the whole city?
Mr. Chairman, I think your point is well taken, and I will take it under advisement.
Director, I appreciate the advisement, but I think Director, I appreciate the advisement. Director, I appreciate that it's under advisement, but the under advisement doesn't cut it.
No, I'm saying
Because
we will evaluate and implement exactly what we can.
Okay, and what have shown is this inability to be innovative with our workforce and also address protect the health issue. So my take is, and when's the last time you guys surveyed every ward? When's the last time you surveyed Ward 7? How's that? I'll be provincial.
I know we've done some surveys towards the end of last year, early this year. I don't know if it was Ward 7 or not. I'd have to check. But
Oh, please provide those surveys by tomorrow, please. I'm going to go to Councilman Taylor. I have further more questions, but Councilman Taylor?
Yes, Chairman, just to give them credit in my ward, the question I have, I know they did within the COVID, they did, I believe it was 12 crosswalk signs on Cranston Street. Cranston Street never had any crosswalk signs. So they did they did 10, but they get 2 left, but they did, let's say 12. They did all those on Cranston Street. But the question I had was I gave that order in for that as the councilman, but is that considered one order? Sir, Nate?
I think,
In other words, when you say an order,
depends how it came.
in other words, one order included 12 signs?
It could have been. I think, as you know, we had to go back and do a couple extras. So, I mean, yeah, there's a good possibility that was one work order. Yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to highlight that, Chairman, because they were all on Cranston Street and all but 2 of them were put up. But, so one order included 10 signs, should include 12. But so when he says there's only one order, I know for a fact in Ward 8 during the COVID, they did put 10 signs, well, more than 10, because I'm just talking those ones on Cranston Street.
Okay. All right, so let's go next. So you have those 5 folks. You have the traffic sign maker coming in twice a week, and you have the other 4 people rotating 1 day a week with a truck, right? Got 2 trucks, 2 people come in, and the other 2 sit out. The next day, 2 people, it flips, 2 people come in, 2 sit out, right?
Something like
on
that.
the traffic sign.
Yeah, I mean, it's roughly half-time, but we're trying to keep 1 person to a truck.
No, that's what I mean. I understand that. Okay. All right, so let's go to the next thing. You have you have traffic systems analysts. You have 2 of them. What's their work schedule, sir?
They're roughly in a couple days, half-time. They're working remotely for the most part.
Well, what exactly does a traffic systems analyst do?
They monitor a lot of the traffic sign requests and develop work orders. They do the dig safe, as I mentioned before. They do a lot of the studies. They develop a lot of the data for a lot of traffic calming requests and other studies. We also put together plans for striping throughout the city. We also just general studies that we do for traffic. They develop the data for that.
Is their job to come into the office, or their job they have a assigned city vehicle?
They do have a assigned city vehicle because their job requires field work. So.
Right. So could those 2 traffic analysts also do a survey? Could do the survey of the wards?
Yes, they could. I oftentimes have my traffic system analysts do that. I mean, traffic sign maintenance people do that, but yeah, they certainly could.
Well, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have, the idea is how do you make folks during this time productive, but also safe? And so this is just a simple idea where to maintain, for example, my ward, there's signs left and right that I've put in requests, and stop signs are down, stop signs are beat up, stop signs you can't see. And so there's a perfect opportunity where the first and where you guys can do surveys of the ward all these past couple of months, probably running into next month too, because although the mayor's executive order was denied Friday, I think he plans on continuing doing a unilateral effort of keeping the city closed to the end of June or beginning of June, which then means the rest of this month we're going to be in the same scenario, which is people sitting home getting paid but not working. So we're looking at how to be more innovative with your workforce. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I ask Nate about, the chairman asked about work orders, and I asked if there was any work that was outstanding. Do you check in regularly with 311, or do you, on a monthly basis, review the work orders and make sure that the work has been completed for the period on an ongoing basis? Is there any ongoing audit of incoming requests for service? Is that happening?
Yeah, I mean, there's a person, I mean, that's assigned to 311, the request for signs, and she monitors those, she makes work orders and so forth. And we, they're sent to the sign maintenance crew, and when it's completed, it's given back to her, and she responds back at 311. If it is in 311, if it's not, yeah, we do keep track of all the work orders in that regard.
So you serve the 311 incoming calls, and you honestly say that you follow up, you track them, you make sure that you're closed out in a timely fashion?
It should be, yeah. I mean, there's a person for signs. There's a person that's assigned to that.
Who is the person, and are they assigned to you, or do you
Yes.
have someone assigned to you that okay, so who is your 311 person in your workforce?
It's one of the traffic system analysts that's assigned to follow the sign work orders. I mean, there's a category in 311 for there's a few categories for signs.
Do you have any outstanding requests on 311 right now? The signs?
Yeah, there could be. Yeah, I would imagine there are, because there's some.
You don't know how many there are. So that goes back to my question about what's outstanding.
Yeah, I'd have to get that number, Joanne.
You give that to us. Thank you. I'm good for now. I've got more questions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. So what I'd like you guys to do is, we're going to be bringing you back probably Thursday, your division, and I'd like to see what innovative plans or processes you guys are going to implement to maybe begin a survey, or how to be more innovative with your workforce. So we'll be bringing you back on that one. And also by tomorrow, provide that information that we just requested, Mr. Director and Mr. Urso. Outstanding orders. Clerk, you have the running list? All right. So those are deliverables, okay? All right. So, and Mr. Urso, you said you have 9 positions, but I'm seeing 10. Am I misreading again?
Is the 10th one myself?
3, 6, 4. I'm just 1, 2, 3. I have 10 positions that's being asked. It's that you have 10 funded positions in 2020, and you're looking to fund 10 positions in 2021. So who's not here, or what's not going on, I guess?
Well,
what's happening?
I think there are 10 total, including myself. I think what I had mentioned was it was 9 that worked for me. So maybe that.
All right. So what's the position that's for what you've mentioned? I guess it was traffic. Is that you? You were the traffic engineer?
Yes.
Okay. So you want to? Is it going to change, or still going to stay traffic engineer?
It's still staying.
So you're not going to change the managing Not going to change it to managing engineer?
No, we're not.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Who's saying that? Okay. Internal order, you had a comment or statement on this?
I just wanted to make a comment on, can you hear me?
Please do.
All right.
Please do, yes.
Just a comment on the overall personnel. They are a fully funded department, yet the attrition increased over 175%. I don't know how they're going to meet that attrition number with a fully staffed department. It's just very concerning.
Okay. So we'll get to that. Also, I want to get to that presently in traffic, there are no vacancies. Is that correct, Mr. Mancini? You need to unmute him, or he's muted, or somebody muted. Right, are there no vacancies in traffic? Is that correct?
I think he must be, tell him maybe his phone is muted, his own phone.
It says mute over there, look at the top right. Click on that. Look.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
All set, Mr. Mancini? Did you say that there's a vacancy, you're gonna leave empty or something, did you say in that division?
I did not. I would defer
Okay.
to the director.
Director, is that right?
Yeah, there are no vacancies.
Okay, great. Now, Mr. Mancini, did you mention scooter fees? Did you say something about scooter fees?
I did.
Please explain to me what you mean by that.
So, those fees were fees that were under the management of the Department of Public Works when the city implemented the jump bikes and the Lime and Bird scooters. And so I think because of the reduction in the lost scooter fees, we'll see a potential, we'll see a reduction of about 20,000. And that's information that was furnished by the department.
And is that in the revenue section of the traffic engineering?
That's correct.
All right.
That would be on page 48.
48, right?
That is correct.
I mean, other revenue, is that where it's located? No, it's in, where's it in? Where's it in? Miscellaneous revenue?
Detailed salaries. No, it's under detailed salary revenue.
All right, so, okay, so, how much have you collected to date in that detailed salary? You're projecting to get 120,000 of it, you said?
We do. It's a combination of construction permit fees as well as the scooter revenue.
Okay, and, all right, so how much is that construction fee? How much is scooter revenue, how much is construction permit fees, is that right?
Yeah, I would have to work with Ms. Melendez, who is the fiscal officer at DPW, but I can get that to the internal auditor tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd like to know the breakdown. So now let's talk about scooter. Are you saying scooter and bike and the bike fees? That's what it's talking about?
I believe
Incorporate it
so.
all together? Okay. So let's talk about that for a second. Now, Director, I know you're a deputy, but I need you to, this question. When the bike program was being implemented, right, it was shown that DPW workers were the ones installing the corrals for that bike company on DPW, on T time. Is that correct, sir?
It may have been the case in some instances, from what I understand, yes.
Right. So that was the case where the city was doing the work of a private company, utilizing city employees and city money, in that case. Did we ever get reimbursed from that company for the misuse of city services and city equipment for private purpose?
I wouldn't necessarily categorize it as that, but I don't know of any reimbursement.
Okay.
The workers
Well,
consider that their labor, their work, and the union considered it their work.
So the union did it. A union did it off their own time, on their own private time, off the work day. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that the union considered that the employees' work.
The union, Mr. Unmute the city solicitor. City solicitor. City solicitor.
Yes, sir.
The director has stated that when that bike company came into town and their equipment was being installed, their own privately owned equipment was being installed, the director stated that the union at the city said it was union work to do that private work. Can you please explain to us, was there a grievance filed? And if so, or was there a request filed? If so, can you please tell me what was the outcome?
I'm not aware of the situation. I certainly will research it and get back to you. But I mean, there are there's language in the contract that talks about if certain work wasn't performed previously, they really don't have an ability to grieve it. So I don't know the nature of the grievance. I certainly will find the grievance if one was filed and report back to you with an overview.
So, Mr. Severini, I want to follow through on that. Right now, presently, we're going to continue with the statement by the director. Rhode Island, RIPTA has been installing little bus, shelters on city sidewalks through private contractors. I could be wrong. Was the city of Providence, maybe Director, was the city of Providence DPW workers installing those bus shelters for RIPTA?
I have no idea. I'm not aware of any issue with.
Okay, I'm sorry, sir. Go.
I'm not aware of any issue that the union had with private contractors or private entities installing those on city streets.
Well, on the city sidewalk, is that correct?
City sidewalk, as you know, it extends, but yes, I'm not aware of it.
So, Mr. Director, do you have a formal written statement or complaint by the union stating that they considered that was their work? And if so, where is it, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'm only going by what the previous director, the information that I had from him. So I have no intimate knowledge as to what was written down or what was agreed upon. So that predates my time. So all I'm doing is relaying to you the information that was provided to me. Now, whether it was incorrect or correct, all I can do is relay the information that was provided to me at the time. I think the situation or the example that you gave regarding RIPTA is totally different.
Well, that's where RIPTA hired a private contractor to put bus shelters on city sidewalks. So
Right, but
it
not
seemed
for
to
the
me.
city of Providence.
Well, does the city of Providence own the bike company? I didn't know that. Do they own the bike company? I didn't know. Mr. Mancini, does the city of Providence own that bike company?
Up to my knowledge.
Is it a private company or is it a quasi-city company?
Mr. Chairman, as I stated earlier, all I'm doing is reiterating what was told to me by my predecessor. I can't control what happened in the past. All I can do is control what's happening in the future.
Okay, so let's continue on. Now that those bikes, is the bikes coming back, or are they still, because they've been going for a long time prior to COVID-19, is that correct?
That's correct, yep. As to who comes back, I don't know at this point.
Okay. All right, so, well, they already left the city prior to COVID-19. So did anybody inquire what was happening with them? Anybody?
I have no direct knowledge as to who's coming back.
Okay, so Mr. Chevron, has anybody taken the effort to go find out if this company is coming back into town or not?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, have you reviewed their contract?
I have not. There are other staff attorneys that do that, and I will inquire of those individuals to see if there is a contract either for the jump company or a similar company that's looking to come to Providence to start that endeavor again.
Well, my question is, supposedly, I presume there's a contract between the city and this jump company, is that correct?
There was, and there would have to be a new one if a new company would come.
Has the jump company did they leave, pick up and leave?
I don't know, sir.
Okay, so I guess the question is anybody monitoring these contracts, and if so, who? And please, we'll invite them to the next finance committee meeting so they can give us a sense for Thursday what's happening. Because my next question is, in all those jump bike corrals, when will they be removed? Since everybody's position is city workers can do that, so when will those corrals be removed? Do we know, Mr. Director?
I can't say because I don't know what the future holds as to who's coming back. So we'll have to see who is returning and we'll take it from there.
Does the city own those corrals, those structures?
I do not know.
Okay, all right. So can we ask, let's go into a little bit more. So what you've said to me is that pretty much most of your work, at least with traffic and stuff like that, I'm going to ask the internal auditor. She has a comment. Internal auditor? You go, and then I have a follow-up.
Hi, yes, Mr. Chairman. You were asking about the number of people who are reporting to work. Last payroll report on May 1st, I have 6% that were telecommunicating. I have almost 72% that stayed home and did not work, and 22% that did work. that was for the week ending April 26th, I believe, paycheck May 1st. And there were also
Madam Order,
42.
Did they receive
Yes.
overtime? Anybody receive? So let's get this
There was-
straight. So 6% telecommunicated, 72% didn't work, 22% reported, and yet they asked for 42 hours of overtime?
Yes, 42, that is correct.
So, Mr. Director, can you please explain this management style?
What department?
Because
are you talking
basically you
about?
should have zero overtime. You should have zero overtime right now.
Well,
That is traffic engineering?
they,
That's all in our traffic engineering, is that correct?
so for traffic engineering, I know they've gone out on a couple of Saturdays and Sundays to close streets as part of the Open Streets program. So I know that's occurred off their regular shift. So that has occurred.
Madam Order? Is that correct?
I don't know when it was issued. I'd have to look at every employee.
Okay, all right. So can you talk about overtime in general anyway? In your traffic engineering, seems like your overtime is over anyway, above by about, looks like, is it about? Are we looking at about another $28,000 of overtime in the traffic engineering division, is that right? Am I reading this right?
Typically, it runs in line with the line item for detail salary revenue. Detail salary revenue typically reflects the amount of overtime that the department does because that is the line item that generates the overtime. That's street closings, that's postings, anything to do with special events or construction projects. So as that line item goes up, so does our expenditure line item.
So the line item was budgeted for 75,000 and projected right now, you're already projected to go over budget by 28,000 in overtime, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And that you're attributing to all these events and all these closings and et cetera, is that right?
That is a big driver of that. So we've had a lot of construction in the city in the past year. We've had numerous events. So that is a big driver of where that number comes from. So if you look at the detailed salary revenue, that's also in line with the expenditure.
Okay. All right. Well, I think the number you guys have to work on for Thursday is that you have 72% of your workers not coming to work and getting paid, only 22% reported, and you're still issuing overtime.
Mr. Chairman, I do have to say that we have ramped up recently. I mean, our department is probably.
This is last week, Mr. Director.
Right, I understand. And we've ramped up
Last
even
week,
further
so-
from there. We've ramped up even from there. One thing we have to keep in mind is that our department is out on the street on a regular basis. We have tight quarters in the building. We've had 4 people come down with the virus within the department. We've been very fortunate that there's no spread within the department. Instead of talking about ramping it up, we'd be talking about ramping it down because we'd have more infection within the department if we didn't act cautiously from the beginning. Not only have we had 4 people get sick, we've had 3 immediate family members pass away, and we've had another member quarantined. So I understand where you're coming from. I get it. We do want to get more work done, but we also want to make sure that everyone's safe. And I did think if we didn't do it the way we did, I think we would have a lot more people not at work because we'd have to quarantine them and keep them out of work because of infection. So while we may be a little bit different than DOT and some other areas, we've been affected by the virus because we do have a high minority population within Department of Public Works.
Well, I'm not gonna get into that one. Internal Auditor, the firefighters department, are the firefighters coming to work, or are they doing one day off, one day on? Are they also not coming to work? Because they're in tight quarters too, right? They're in tight quarters, they're in buildings, right? They're outside. So are the firefighters coming to work or are they sitting home? Madam Auditor?
The firefighters are reporting.
And they're in tight quarters too, right? I mean, they're in these buildings, there's a, Chief Taylor, how many firefighters in each one of the fire stations?
Depends on the size of the station, could be up as far as 16 people, as low
So
as
let me ask this.
4.
So, Mr. Mancini, has the fire department had, I know they're probably the most cautious, they've had the mechanisms of masks and sanitizing agents, et cetera. Have they had a high percentage of COVID-19 cases, the fire department?
There have been some, Mr. Chairman. I don't have the exact statistics. The commissioner would certainly be the best person to report on that, but there has been some incidents in the fire, yes.
And Mr. Mancini, maybe you know, is it only one fireman per truck now? So no, when they go out, when I see the fire trucks go out, and there used to be 5 firemen in it, 5 fire people, are they saying only one fire person can go in the truck, the other 4 have to kind of maybe run along, or do they come in 4 other vehicles? How is that working? Is that how that's working? Are they doing one fire person per truck?
So, Mr. Chairman, I can't bear witness to that. I haven't seen that operation firsthand, but my instinct tells you that the truck is adequately staffed, and the men and women of the fire department are doing the job required of them. Maybe that means it changes the way they operate. Maybe it means they arrive in 2 vehicles, and maybe that means they arrive in complete outfitted mask, shield, gloves, and what have you.
Yeah. Have we issued masks and sanitizers to the DPW workers, Mr. Mancini?
The Department of Public Property has made valiant efforts throughout the month of March and April to acquire from sources that previously the city were unavailable. Mr. Chairman, we were in competition with other municipalities and other levels of government and private industry. To the credit of the public property, they are now getting a steady stream of supply. Yes.
Great, fantastic. So, Director, I would suggest you contact the police and the fire department and how they're able to perform their job with their workers, and then figure out maybe if there's other additional safety measures that you need to do. Then maybe then you can start getting your folks up. I mean, as of last week, 72% were staying home, getting paid, and not working. And I know you're saying you're ramping up. I presume from 72%, anything's better. It's only Monday, so I presume from last week to today, whatever ramp up means, I suggest strongly advise you to contact them and figure out how they've been doing it. And maybe you want you to contact other public works and places where you can, that they have. In fact, just so you know, the same union that's in your shop is in the union in the state, and we've worked out all those measures with them. They've been they've been a great partner up in the state. We have the same union, and they've been working with us in partnership with us. And we have, just, DOT, we have a whole host of, we have all sorts of people from races and all different backgrounds who work for the department. So we've been able to get over that particular issue, working with the unions and working with management, and also providing the services that people of the state of Rhode Island expect in a safe and a controlled environment. So if you need some help, we can help connect you with that, because it seems like you guys are still way behind on this conversation. So why don't we go to the next one? You have any questions about this? We're going to go to the next section, Vice Chair or Councilman Taylor? All right.
Good for now.
And Councilman, all right, so Mr. Mancini, why don't we go on to the next section? And then, gentlemen, we need those deliverables by Thursday. We'll have you back on Thursday. Next, Mr. Mancini, which one? Is it going to be Public Works Administration?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Oh, and excuse me, and Solicitor Cheverini?
Yes, sir.
I need to have the committee needs a full briefing on Thursday from the City Solicitor's Office on the scooter contracts, the jump bike contracts, and et cetera, from soup to nuts, and we expect a full briefing. And there shouldn't be anything about some conversation about some special star chamber of some sort. And what we'll do is we'll make sure we put it, Madam Clerk, Mr. Clerk, we'll make sure that there'll be also the ability to go into executive session. Probably don't have to, but just in case the City Solicitor's Office gives us that as an excuse, we'll have the ability to know that, okay? So we'll have them on
Thank you. Yep.
Thursday. Thank you. So, by the way, that's an deliverable, okay? Thank you. And
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go next, Mr. Mancini, Public Works Administration, sir.
Sure. So, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, this is Division 101-501, Public Works Administration. This is not a revenue generating department. So I direct your attention to expenditures. The salaries for FY21 are budgeted at $589,057. That's an increase of $6,081 from the prior year. Benefits for this department, this division rather, is budgeted at $442,048, a decrease of $17,653 from the prior year budget. Services total in this department for FY21 are $53,500, a $19,900 decrease from the prior budget. The decrease is due to a reduction in expected postage and printing in accordance with projected FY20 spend. Supplies, total supplies FY20 are $2,800, a decrease of $1,200 from the FY20 budget of $4,000. This decrease is also due to a reduction in stationery. There is no capital expenditures for this department. With your consent, Mr. Chairman, I will move to the 3-box report. Again, page 51, there are no revenue in this department. Page 52. Starting with the left box, you'll see that there's a slight change in salaries for 21 versus 2020 budget of $116. And there is a increase in longevity of $5,965 based on the maturing workforce. Total increase in salaries and longevity, $6,081. If I could direct your attention to the center box for the same category of expenses, it appears that the department will have a slight overage of $23,926. Perhaps it did not meet its attrition level in 2020. There is some temporaries that were charged to the department budget this year, $1,995. And longevity this year was $12,175, slightly over with the amount that was budgeted. The grand total of salary overage projected for this year, salary and salary attributes, is $27,929. If I could continue with the report on page 52, moving back to the left column, benefits once again are the purview of the non-departmental and finance. Down below that is postage. Postage has been budgeted at $10,000 for FY21, or a $24,000 savings and reduction. Dues and subscriptions have increased by $6,500, and printing has been decreased by $4,000. The combined general administrative services category has a reduction of $21,500. Maintenance and service will increase by $1,600, while miscellaneous expenses will stay at $10,000. No increase there. Stationery will decrease by $1,200, and that concludes the comparison of 21 versus the 20 budget. I'd like to redirect your attention to the center boxes, starting with the postage account and moving our way down. We think that we will probably, that entire group of general administrative expenses will probably be at approximately $30,700 under budget for the year, based on postage, dues and subscriptions, and printing. Maintenance and service should come in just about at or below budget, and miscellaneous expenses, once again, below budget. We think that entire category will see a $32,000 budget savings, and stationery should show some small savings as well. This would complete the report, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, for the Public Works Administration, and I will take any questions or defer them to the director.
Thank you. So let's start with the thing in the Public Works Administration. How many positions are in there, Mr. Director?
So I believe it is myself, the clerk, and there are other clerks that are situated in that department as well. So I am in every day. The clerk in this office has been reporting 2 or 3 times a week and has even been helping delivering meals to students as part of her alternate work plan.
Who's doing that, Director?
That's Valerie Capilli.
Yeah, what position is that, sir?
She is a clerk in the administrative office. I forget the exact title, but she is a clerk.
Is she the Public Works clerk, one of them, one of the 3?
Yes. Yep, yep.
Right, so let's start from the top. The accounts payable officer, are they coming into work every day, or are they What are they
So
doing
that-
exactly?
Right, so we have 4 other clerks, an accounts payable officer, we have 2 payroll clerks. They're coming in once or twice a week, alternating, and they're also working remotely. So when need be, they will come in, do payroll, process any accounts payables. They will do that and come in, and they're being ramped up as we can, keep them safely because they're within the building. One of the keys to doing all this is having the proper PPE. We've been able to get more of that as we've gone along through the current weeks. A month ago, the vast majority of the PPE was going to police and fire. We were seeing very little of it, and it was all going to the highway division. So now we're getting more of it through the efforts of public properties. So with that, we're able to get more people in and get them in safely.
Well, okay, well, we'll get to that question. So let's start with the accounts payable officer. Is that person coming, what's the status of that person? Now, I remind you, by the way, the stats show that 72% of your workforce is not coming into work and getting paid. So so we're gonna go through it. So 72% is not, so I'm still trying to, your accounts payable officer, what's their status?
They're coming in at least once a week and they're working remotely.
And what do they do? They do the payroll?
No, accounts payable, they take care of any invoices that need to be processed, requisitions.
And so they've been assigned a city computer with city access?
Yes, they have. Yep.
Okay. So next, the administrative assistant at DPW?
Yep. So she's been coming in a couple of times a week, handling correspondence to the boards, and also been delivering meals to students. As an alternate work schedule.
So why did you give that person an alternative work schedule? So are they coming in 2 times a week for you and 3 times a week delivering meals to students? Is that what you're saying?
No, it varies. Sometimes she'll come in here in the morning and then go out and deliver meals later on. Sometimes she'll come in here for the full day and deliver meals a different day. So generally 2 or 3 times a week. It depends upon the nature of the week and what we need here.
Okay. And how many other workers do you have delivering meals to students? They go into their homes, you mean? They actually go into their house?
We have 2 others, yes.
In your shop, all right. So the deputy director of public works, are they in? What are they doing?
That position is vacant.
I'm sorry?
That position is vacant.
That's a vacant position, okay? All right. Of course, the environmental court liaison person?
She can only work remotely. Basically, she works closely with the court and the court is closed. So she's only able to work remotely in terms of processing some mail that may have come back that was erroneously addressed, etc. But she's unable to work at this time due to the closure of the court.
Well, there are no environmental tickets being issued this time, right?
No, there's no tickets being issued. We're taking a different approach. We are inspecting, but not ticketing.
Okay, and so, okay. Does this person do inspection too?
No, she does not. So she interacts with the court on a regular basis, schedules people's for court hearings, has conferences with people if they have dispute on their ticket. Basically, that has come to a halt.
Okay, yep. The fiscal advisor, public works?
She comes in once or twice a week and also telecommutes on a regular basis. We interact on a regular basis.
Okay, and you said you got 5 public works clerks?
I think we went through one of them already.
3 of them, sorry, 3.
Yep. And the other 2 are payroll clerks. They do payroll as well as process permits. So they're coming in either once or twice a week, bunching up permits, processing them, taking care of payroll when it needs to be done. So they handle that as well. So there's
Who's answering your phones? Anybody answering your phones?
No, we do not have anyone answering our phone. Most of the calls or most of the interaction is going through 311. I'm here on a regular basis, and it's, I can hear the phone ring on occasion, but it's rare that the phone has been ringing lately.
So you're saying, so you don't have call forwarding for one of your clerks so they can answer the phones?
Not at this time. No, we do have an environmental clerk that will come in for environmental issues, but that's a different department.
Do you have the readout of how many 311 calls you get? Will you get COVID-19 and post-COVID-19?
I do not have that. It's possible that admin has it. I can check and get that information.
Could you provide that for Thursday?
Sure.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Vice Chair?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at a statistic here that DPW has only completed 43% of the complaints submitted through 311 over the past year. Is that true?
Are you looking at a certain department or are you looking overall?
I'm looking at the 311 reporting system.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm being told that only 43% of the complaints that have come in through 311 over the past year have been completed.
We'll have to check that. I find that hard to believe, given that we have a robust system for potholes and catch basins and picking up garbage debris. So I'll have to check with our personnel to see why that is the case.
I wish that you do. Thank you. I think that it's consistent with what we're getting in response. We have a number of open complaints in the council office. I'm sure that folks are calling into 311 and also calling into the council office, but we have a number of complaints that are unanswered. So I would appreciate a report on that, what's outstanding and what you're going to do about resolving it. Thank you. Thanks, Mr.
So we'll have that answer. We're going to bring you back on Thursday, so please have that answer provided. That's another deliverable. Madam Clerk, make a note of that. Thank you. Madam Auditor? Okay. All right, any questions? Want to move on to the next section, Mr. Mancini?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So that completes 101-501. Next one, Mr. Chairman, is 101-502, Engineering and Sanitation. And this is not a revenue-generating department. Allow me, I will go to expenditures, just a minute, sir. So 101-502, Engineering and Sanitation, not a revenue-generating department. Salaries for this department are for FY21 are budgeted at $631,353. It's a decrease of $26,020 from the prior year budget. This decrease is due to increased attrition and as the city plans to delay posting vacancies and will not be filling non-essential positions in FY21. Benefits for FY21 is budgeted at $383,000.
Chair, you have the com. Continue, Mr. Mancini.
419, an increase of $29,122 over the FY20 budget of $354,297. Services for this department, this division rather, will total in FY21 of $75,000, a decrease of $125,000 from the FY20 budget. And the decrease is due to reduction in hurricane barrier expense and other projects that will be done through the capital improvement plan. Supplies remain consistent at $500 for FY21, and there is no capital for this department. Mr. Chairman or Madam Leader, if I may, continue with the 3-box report, which appears on page 54, at which point, Madam Leader, may I continue?
Yes, you may. Thank you.
Thank you. To the upper left-hand box, and you'll see salary comparison for FY20 versus FY21, showing a decrease of $27,128, while overtime will stay level at $10,000, and there is a slight uptick in longevity at $1,101. Grand total change year over year is a $26,000 reduction in salaries for this division. Moving downward to benefits, the benefits will increase by $29,122. Much of that associated with pension change and medical insurance. Moving further downward, hurricane barrier maintenance, as I had said in my narrative, will change by $75,000, decrease, and miscellaneous expenses will decrease by $50,000 as well. A total change there of $125,000. There are no other expenses to report in that category other than small tools, which will stay flat or leveled at $500. Madam Leader, Madam Vice Chair, if I may direct your attention to the center box, comparing salaries of the current budget to where we believe we'll finish the year. It appears that we will be under budget by $62,190. Much of that due to the attrition in that division. As to overtime will come just under budget of $10,000 at $9,662, and while longevity will be in all likelihood below budget by $443. The grand total projection for this year for this division will come in at $62,970 below budget. Benefits are the purview of the non-departmental. Once again, on the hurricane barrier maintenance expense, we're expecting that expense will probably close to $72,000. The savings for the FY20 budget of $27,353, and likewise, miscellaneous expenses will be reduced by almost $56,000. This year's expenses projected to be about $44,000. All other expenses are within reason. This division should finish the year well within the budget. And that completes the report.
What is the cause of the great reduction, 75% reduction in the maintenance, hurricane barrier maintenance? Why is it reduced?
Madam Leader, that was an item that was scheduled more than 2 years ago to come under the original CIP construction projects, but will now be taken up in the most recently adopted CIP. So there was a need that the department did not need such an extensive or large budget associated with that in the general fund, because much of that will now be carried forward by the CIP.
Going forward, will it be carried in the CIP, or will next year revert to regular maintenance? Is it a 1 year?
No, there'll always be some minimum maintenance budget to accommodate items that will either be basic maintenance or that occasional emergency repair. But the vast majority of the maintenance, which will be handled by repair, will be included in the CIP. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Continue, Mr. Mancini.
That completes my presentation, Mr. Chairman, on 101-502 Engineering and Sanitation. I'm willing to take additional questions or have them referred to the director.
We haven't discussed staffing yet, Mr. Chair.
So why don't we start with that? So why don't we start with the engineering? So is the assistant chief engineer in that section, is that correct?
Correct.
Yep.
All right, so let's just start from that. So just go one by one and tell us working, not working, sitting home, etc.
Sure. The chief engineer is coming into the office as well as working remotely. He has access
That's the
to
assistant chief engineer coming in, you said?
I'm sorry, that's the chief engineer.
I have assistant chief engineer.
Yep. So
is there an assistant chief engineer? There's not one?
Yep. So we have an assistant chief engineer. He was new to the department within the past 2 or 3 months. He is working on his own personal laptop, but remoting into the city network. He's also coming to work 1 to 3 days a week as needed. Myself, the deputy city engineer, I do have a city laptop, and I have been connected since the beginning of this, and I too come into work 1 to 3 times a week, depending on the work volume. We have a civil,
Your position is deputy chief, is that right?
that's correct.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, continue.
Yep, we have a civil engineer in training who just got a city laptop a couple weeks ago. He has been working since this shutdown, both coming in and using his personal equipment up until this point. We have two associate engineers, three, one of which has a city laptop and has been remotely working. The other does not have a city laptop, but is entertaining phone calls. And all employees have their calls forwarded from their desk phone, as well as having their city cell phones available for calls. And we've been taking those throughout the day and on weekends as well. We have one engineer.
Mr. Hockley, can you tell us a little bit about what the engineering division does? Tell a little more, just a little detail what it does specifically. What kind of work for this DPW?
Sure. We design, manage, implement construction projects, capital and maintenance for roadways, sidewalks, sewers, dams, bridges, and any other infrastructure that's within the city and in the public right of way. We issue permits for excavations in the public right of way, sewer permits, permits to alter your driveway or sidewalk if you want to fix that up. We also keep and maintain all sewer plans, all street line plans, which show the boundary between the public right of way and the private property. And we have a robust counter service and phone service where people come in to request those plans and to pull permits. So in any given week, we're servicing anywhere from 20 at the low point with counter service to over 100 during the peak times.
Okay.
And we also have an engineering aide 4 who's been on leave for the past few months. And we have a CAD GIS technician who is retiring imminently by the end of this fiscal year.
Okay. Before I get too deep into it, Director of DPW, how many folks are on in your crew on either workers' compensation this time, or have a leave of absence?
I'll get you those figures. I know there's some on comp. There is one in engineering, obviously. She is on maternity leave, but we'll get you those figures. So the sanitation portion, that's just simply what is that the garbage removal contract portion?
I think that may involve some sewer sanitation. That title certainly predates me, and I'm not exactly sure what that means.
Mr. Mancini? You identify as engineering and sanitation. Is it that's just because it's the old title?
That is correct, sir. You will cover those expenditures in account number 101506, environmental control.
That's what I thought. Okay, so we're just still using an old title and sanitation, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. All right. Then let's. Why don't we go to that? Go to the next one, Mr. Mancini. Which I presume now is the environmental. Which is environmental control is a nicer name than sanitation, right?
Yep. So, Mr. Members of the committee and members of the council, this is 101-506, now municipal control. This department does receive minimal revenue. For FY21, it's budgeted at $40,000, a decrease of $5,000 from the FY20 budget of $45,000. This revenue is generated from the sale of garbage and recycling receptacles. As to expenditures, the total salaries for FY '21 are budgeted at $605,590, an increase of $33,011 over the prior year budget. This increase is due to overtime requested to enhance recycling compliance within the city. Benefits for FY '21 is budgeted at $404,546, an increase of $66,123 on the prior budget. Services for this department for FY '21 are budgeted at $10,771,323, an increase of $864,423 over the FY '20 budget. And this increase is due to anticipated increases in demand for residential waste removal. And then finally, supplies. The total budget for supplies in FY '21 is budgeted at a $15,000 increase over the $5,000 budget from FY '20. This increase is in the chemical supplies line item. And that completes the narrative, Mr. Chairman. If I may, I have the three-box report in front of me, starting with page 56.
Please,
And
sir.
at page 56 is the revenue for basically which is known as garbage receptacles. We'll see revenue reduction of $5,000 in the '21 budget versus the '20 budget. And in this year's budget, we're seeing an approximate projection of $37,646, which will show about a $7,300 reduction or shortfall in the budget of revenue. Hence the reason why we have reduced the budget for FY '21 to $40,000. If there are no questions on that, Mr. Chairman, I'll go to page 57, expenditures. Moving
Yeah,
to the
so,
left
Mr.
box.
Mancini, before we do that, where is the Director of Environmental anyway? Where's that person? Is that person online?
She's not online,
Yeah,
but she's in this budget.
She's what?
She's in this budget, if that's what you're asking.
No, do you mean, is she with us this evening in attendance?
Yeah, she with us this evening?
No,
I believe not.
Okay. Has she been coming into work every day?
she is working remotely every day. If she needs to come in, she comes in, but she is actively working remotely every day.
And is she identifying that online? Is she identifying it in her what do you call it, her work
Yes.
schedule and her checking off that?
Yep, she has a laptop, she has a phone. She is actively engaged every day. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
But she's not engaged for tonight's meeting, right?
Right. I don't think she
Okay.
received an invite.
So what we'll do is we're gonna, Madam Clerk, make sure that director comes in, or what deputy director? We expect her to come in for Thursday, so we can get some questions answered, all right? Thank you. So we'll ask for that. All right, so Mr. Mancini, you wanna go for your three-box, please?
Yes.
Sir?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I did complete the revenue section, and so I'll move
Yes,
to
sir.
page 57, which is a presentation of expenditures starting in the left box. You'll see the comparison of FY '21 salaries versus FY '20. There appears to be a $45,951 reduction in the salary line. Moving downward to overtime, will have an increase of $80,000 over the prior year. There is no budget for callback. And then the various by contractual obligation, differential pay, and alternate work week will remain level. And finally, longevity has a slight decrease of $1,038. If I could continue with the left side box, moving through benefits, which is the purview of the non-departmental, and then getting to refuse processing. The refuse processing account will experience approximately a 10% increase of $305,000 over the prior year. Recycling pickup will have an increase of $87,966, again a 3% increase. Waste recycling education will increase by $35,000. Moving down with the private contractors, that will remain level at $175, and garbage pickup will have an increase of approximately 11.5%, a total increase of $428,457 over the prior year, and miscellaneous expenses will be budgeted at $8,000. Also on that page 57 is small tools and shop supplies at $1,000, And if I could direct your attention to page 58 to close out the expenditures, there appears to be an increase of $5,000 on chemical supplies, rounding out that budget. The budget we'll look at in total budget increase of $968,557. More than 800,000 of that is associated with refuge processing, recycling, and garbage pickup. If I could direct your attention, Mr. Chairman, before we have questions for the department, to the center box. The center box for salaries for this year, the salaries appear to be slightly over budget at $13,410. More than likely, we didn't hit our attrition marks, but it is within the range that was expected. Overtime has it excess of $43,063. There is callback of $84. It may be just in this posting, and then differential and alternate work week combined are $1,500 below budget. Longevity is about $3,880 above budget. So the rounding out the salary components of the entire fiscal 20 budget could be $58,874 in total over budget. Much of that associated with overtime. Hence the reason why the overtime budget is being adjusted for the 21 budget. We will skip through benefits and non-departmental. Refuse processing expected to exceed budget by $249,658 this year, while recycling pickup should be nearly exactly at budget, probably a couple of $100 either way. Waste recycling education is slightly over budget at $2,000 over. Private contractors is under budget by $93,788, and garbage pickup should be at or near budget, a slight overage of about $3,600. And lastly, there is a miscellaneous expense that was charged to the department this year, and the department is asking for that to be picked up in next year's budget as well. And tools and supplies stayed level, and chemical supplies we think will be under budget by $7,000. The department's total budget, when not including benefits, is expected to exceed budget by a total of $230,000 this year. With that, I will entertain questions for myself or for Director Peralta.
Then I'll start from the top. Right now, presently in this division, 11% of them are teleworking, 28% are reporting, and 61% are staying home, getting paid, and not working in this division. So let's go through it. So the Associate Director, Environmental, what's this person doing?
She is teleworking every day.
Okay. How about the Environmental Clerk?
Environmental clerk is coming in, I believe, once or twice a week now, and teleworking when possible.
Okay. Environmental Specialist?
Environmental Specialist.
What does an Environmental Specialist do?
All right, so I believe there's 6 of those.
6 of them? Yep.
Right. So they are the inspectors that go out in the wards. They're alternating. 2 come in every day. But unfortunately, we've had 2 that have been out. 1 came down with the virus, and the other one was quarantined because his wife came down with the virus. So that happened recently. So fortunately, because we were alternating, we did not have any spread. So they've been coming in alternating days. We'll be getting 1 person back starting tomorrow.
Does the director, do they operate in, do they drive in a city vehicle solo?
Yes, they do, but they do report to the office building. We've tried to minimize that by giving them iPads and just have them come in, check right out, go on the road, do their inspections, email as best as possible outside the office, and then get their work done. We're not issuing tickets at the current time, given the current situation. We're trying to be more proactive, knocking on doors when possible, communicating with people, trying to get them to do the right thing during these difficult times.
Okay. labor, the 2 laborers for road and control?
So we have one that's working, one is out. I believe he's suspended. But one is working and comes in twice a week, and he's been delivering barrels, getting through the backlog. We just had a barrel delivery, I think, at the end of March, and he's been out every day when he's in, all day, delivering barrels, and he works solo.
Okay. Well, our numbers have that, basically 61% of your folks in this shop are sitting home, getting paid and not working. So what the numbers and payroll showing is different than what you're representing. So you need to figure out how to reconcile that for Thursday. But I have another question for you. I know you're not prepared to reconcile it right now, but what you guys are presenting seems to be different than what the actual facts are. The Mattress Depot on Terminal Road, is someone manning that road, that?
No, we don't think, right now, it's not safe for us to do it. Here's the issue we have. We would have to suit up the inspectors that generally, and the laborers that go there in Tyvek suits. They're hard to come by. Right now, I only have 3. Our plan is to man it once a month, but with 3 Tyvek suits, I can only do it once. We want to open it so that we're consistent. We can have it open for a number of months in a row. So unfortunately, people have been dumping. We've been able to clean them up on the Mondays and Tuesdays following. But given the current orders that are out there, that crowds of only 5 or less congregate, you can have 15, 20 people lined up outside of the area. And we can barely account for our safety, never mind theirs. So once we can make it safe for our staff, I think we'll open up, but right now we can't.
Okay, so is the Resource Recovery, are they receiving mattresses?
They will take them for free if they're recyclable, but you would have to bring them up there, but they're getting very few. And no other community in the state of Rhode Island has their mattress collection open.
Okay, so but let's talk about that right now. What are you doing with the pileup of those mattresses right now? What are you doing with them?
We take them.
Because it's growing by leaps and bounds.
We take them when we put them in dumpsters and we dispose of them on a weekly basis.
So that's what we're doing normally with them, right? Did you ever get that mattress shredder thing?
We haven't got the mattress shredder yet. We do have it in the master lease. We're looking at purchasing one. Hopefully that's sooner rather than later.
Okay. Okay. Where is it? It looks like you're looking to increase the overtime? I guess right now for this fiscal year, the overtime went over budget by almost 200%, 215%. And you'd like to now increase it to basically another 800%. So can you account for your overtime issue?
So basically, the overtime is driven by inspections of recyclables. We would go out to each ward, a different route, and the inspectors would go out there on a regular basis, preceding the recycling truck, and pull aside carts that were contaminated to get those loads clean so that they would go to the landfill and not be charged a penalty basically for having a contaminated load. If we're to continue to do that, that will help us meet our goal of getting around 20% recycling. But if we stop doing that, we will be hard pressed to meet that goal. So it's critical to us if we're going to meet that benchmark, If we don't, our tipping fees and our costs at the landfill will continue to increase. The state is getting more strict in terms of what they're doing in terms of rejecting loads, not just here in Providence, but statewide, because the markets have basically, typically, most notably in China, they stopped accepting a lot of the recyclables, the cardboard and the glass and the plastics. So the market is drying up. It's getting more strict. And as a result, waste management, ground resource recovery is rejecting more loads. So we have a tougher road to go in terms of managing our rejected loads. So the only way we can do that is more inspections.
What's our recycling rate right now,
We're
Director?
probably at 13, 14%. We were able to get it up to around 18%. But unfortunately, as we step away from an area and we go to another area, the area falls back. And I think, when we have our associate director come in on Thursday evening, I think she can better speak to education plans and what we intend to do going forward, trying to do a more proactive approach, not just penalizing people, but doing more with education. But we do have to have a very comprehensive approach in terms of getting the message out, in terms of what the right thing to do is for recycling.
Okay, so when I look at the refuse processing, the budget for the present budget was $3,050,000. You're projected to go to almost 3.3 million. Is that where the additional processing fees come in? Where's that? What accounts for the additional 300,000?
A lot of that comes from the rejected loads and when we exceed the cap. So exceeding the cap is driven by rejected recycling. So if a recycling load, typically, if it's a good load, you don't get charged anything. It goes in clean. Ground resource recovery charges you nothing. But if it's counted as trash, it gets charged as trash and counts against the city's cap. So in doing that, we, at the end of the year, exceed the cap and get charged a penalty for those rejected loads. So that's why you see that increased number. We want that number to go down. If we spend the extra money in overtime, in inspections, and in education, that number should go down. But we're fighting a much stricter battle now because ground resource recovery is getting stricter because of the markets that are changing. So last year was strict, now it's getting worse.
And so for Thursday, when the director of this unit comes in, can you have her, that's her, I believe, can you have her put together what's been the 5-year recycling, like how's it been going? And I presume she has it broken down ward by ward?
She might have it ward by ward, but we can definitely get the 5-year. Absolutely. We'll get it for you.
I thought they, you guys, I thought she break it by zip code or by ward and vice chair. If she does, please provide it, vice chair. Madam Clerk, make a note.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to ask Leo, where are we with, as many are aware, Councilman Salvatore, our colleague, had done some research and determined that a number of our residents were fined inappropriately and are due a reimbursement. Where are you with processing those reimbursements? It's been an ongoing issue for a while. So update us, please, on what's going on with that.
Sure. So we went through the report. I know we went through it with the internal auditor. We did some final checking. I think there may have been 2 or 3 that were lopped off the list as there were errors, but other than that, so now we've requested from the vendor a complete list with proper mailing addresses, because as you're probably aware, the format that was originally provided to us was a format with who was violated and the amount that was over, but it wasn't with a mailing list, because typically that goes somewhere else. It may go to a landlord in many cases. So they're putting that together for us. We expect to have that this week. And then we'll be able to compile that in a fashion so that if one person is due multiple reimbursements because they own multiple properties, it'll be aggregated into one, and we'll forward that list to the administration and law department so that they can properly send the appropriate waivers, et cetera, so the reimbursements can go out.
When will the reimbursements go out, Leo?
That's difficult to say. We're just waiting for the vendor to get back to us with that listing. We're hoping to say that's going to be this week, and then we can send that to administration and the law department to process that in the reimbursements. So once we do that, we put it in their hands, and they'll interact with fiscal, finance, and get the reimbursements out. I don't expect it to be a long time frame, but I would expect it to be done within this fiscal year.
Within this fiscal year?
I think that's possible, yes. Well, we're close. We're in May.
I'm just surprised it's taking so long to just return these funds to the residents that were inappropriately charged. I just don't understand why it's taking so long. It's come before council committees, a couple of committees. We voted on it in the council chamber. We've asked for you folks to expedite the repayments. Once again, it's a priority. Please get those payments out.
We'll do everything we can to get them out efficiently and effectively.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you, Vice Chair. I would just say that you have more than enough workforce that's sitting home, getting paid, doing nothing. You probably can give them all 4 or 5 of them, because I think it's, and get it squared away by the end of a couple of weeks from now. I don't think this is that big of a lift, considering you have most of your workforce sitting home doing nothing, getting paid to do nothing. So you got them delivering meals to children. Seems like me, you could assign a couple of these other people sitting home doing nothing to work out this paperwork. So it doesn't seem why that can't be done ASAP. And it seems to be somewhat. I appreciate the statement, but it rings hollow considering that majority of your workforce is sitting home. So I would think by Thursday we'd like to see a true action plan. If you're having a problem with the vendor, then we need to get the vendor online and get them squared, because it's really not fair to the public. Okay, and I just want to remind everybody that the council members all live in the city, and then we have a few directors that also do. The majority of the city people who work for the city don't live in the city. So our job is to defend the people, to give them a voice, and have you folks who work in the city but don't live here to help you get your job done so you can help them. So we should see a action plan that's more, because I know it's been going on for months, by the way. I know that Councilman Salvatore mentioned months ago about this, and he was getting, sounds like to me, lip service, yes, yes, yes. And then he took the extraordinary step that we actually have to pass a law. And I understand, by the way, we're in a new time right now. As of last week, the city solicitor says the charter is no longer, he disavowed the city charter, so I recognize that we're in a new paradigm over here where the charter is not applicable in city government, which of course I disagree with, but we're going to do our part to uphold it. So we have high expectations. You have a lot of people sitting home. Your rationale for them sitting home isn't, your action plan isn't really, it doesn't ring true. It's not, it doesn't seem like you're being very effective in utilizing your workforce, at least for alternative measures, alternative stuff. There's a great concern of this lack of connection of most of you that don't live here, and most of you work here and not providing the service to the constituents. You folks should be getting ahead of your situations. You should be getting ahead of your surveys, ahead of potholes and signs and all that stuff. You should be ahead of the game because there's no traffic, no one's on the road, no one's there to bother you. You could easily conscript numerous city vehicles and you could send out numerous people singular in a city vehicle all day long, because half the city's still not working also. So it seems that there has been how do you put it, a high level of, lack of organization on how to deal with this. COVID-19 is not going anywhere. It's going to be here for a little while. So now we need to figure out how to get government to work for the people that are paying taxes and people who are living in the city and even paying rent and still paying taxes, and how they're going, the services to them. So you need to start now figuring out how to create your workforce and how to get it to work in a safe environment, but also how to make it be productive. Councilman Espinal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman?
So thank you. Just to echo what you just so eloquently said in regards to trying to get the money back to the landlords and to the people that were ticketed. And I think Director Parada gets the fact that we really need to get that money back. But Director Parada, in regards to the mattresses, because it's been close to 8 Saturdays now that it's been closed. So there's a piling up in homeowners' backyards. And I wonder if there's any way that we could probably set something up where we can maybe a couple of days a week in the near future, they can actually bring these mattresses and put them in front of their homes. And we could probably provide that service to pick those up because they are in homeowners' backyards, some are thrown all over the place. And I was just wondering if we could probably do that service citywide, maybe this month and next month, until we can actually go back to the regular Saturday routine.
I think we've done some of that already, and I would encourage that. We've had inspectors go out there, actually knock on people's doors when they've seen them, encouraging them to put it out, and we pick it up. So, we would prefer that method right now because it's safer for our workforce and it's safer for the people because they're bringing it here. We don't know, who they're going to interact with, if they're going to be wearing a mask.
Right.
So for all intents and purposes, we strongly encourage that people put it out front, and we will make the extra effort, whether it's through waste management or through DPW crews to pick it up. So yes, I strongly encourage it, and we'll work with you to do that. I think that's a great idea. And we have been doing some of that already with our inspectors. When they see it, they say, they go to the house, they knock on the door, and they tell them, put it out front. It'll get picked up. Don't leave it out. And you're where you are. It's not sanitary.
And would that be the same procedure, just to call the regular DPW number? Would there be somebody that could answer the call?
They can, the best thing to do is put it in through 311, and we will take care of it. We're responding to all of those. So do that. If they're capable of having to pay for it, which they can through waste management, they can do that as well.
And then just another question that I had in regards to the recycling. When you actually go out there and you penalize people and you cite them for violations, is that actually working? What is the rate of return on that? What is the collection rate?
The collection rate has actually gone up recently. I don't have the figures in front of me, but since we went to a ticketing system that was basically immediate, similar to the ticketing system that is used by parking enforcement, the ticket is issued right then and there and is electronically transmitted to the vendor. The tickets go out pretty much that evening or the next day, and people are able to pay immediately via the internet. The collection rate and the pay rate has gone up substantially. Prior to that, it was very poor. I would have to get those numbers for you, but making it more convenient and getting the tickets out quickly has increased that ticketing return rate. In terms of compliance.
And do you find that people actually after they get a ticket, they actually evade and cooperate with the
Yeah,
corrective
that's,
recycling practices.
right, that's our biggest problem. We do get them, we'll get them to move over and cooperate after, say, 4, 5, 6 passes in a ward. And then there will be a handful or a certain grouping that don't comply. But when we leave that area and go to another route, there'll be a fallback. So our biggest challenge is how do we stop the fallback? Keeping that level of recycling rate up without having to continually inspect wards on an absolute week by week basis doesn't make sense. And that's what we're trying to figure out. How do we do this? Inspect, but get the levels to stay consistent. And I think some of that is education and trying to hone in on who the perpetrators are on a regular basis, because I think we've been able to narrow it down that there is a certain grouping of households that may be constantly violating versus the ones that do it on occasion, who may be making the mistake or not paying attention to the rules, where those who just want to flaunt the rules. I think there's a big difference.
Yeah, I think some of that is because of the fact, some of the tenants, actually, there are issues with tenants, and it has to do with that they rely on the landlord that's going to pay it, because ultimately the ticket is going to be given to the landlord. So you find a number of tenants that that's not going to be their priority, and that's probably why you have this, having this type of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, anyway.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman, you all set? Okay, so
All
Mr.
set,
Mancini has left the audio. That'd be great. Great. So what we're gonna do is, Mr. Mancini, let's go into highway, and then we're probably not gonna get to the rest, so we'll continue the rest of those items till Thursday. But why don't let's try to kick off highway a little bit and go into there, okay?
You got it.
Thank you, Mr. Mancini.
My pleasure. Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Highway 101-508. This department does have revenue generation. For FY21, it's budgeted at $280,000, or an increase of $4,000 over the prior year. And this increase is due to growth in road opening permits and curb cut requests. As for expenditures, salaries for the FY21 are budgeted at $2,305,870, a decrease of $111,427 from the prior year. And this decrease is due to increased attrition as the city plans to delay posting vacancies and will not be filling non-essential positions in FY21. Benefits for FY21 is budgeted at $1,900,978, a decrease of $28,820 from the prior year budget. Services for FY21 is budgeted at $35,000, a decrease of $15,000 from the FY20 budget. And this decrease is due to the city's investment in new street sweeping equipment. And finally, supplies for FY21 are budgeted at $217,500, an increase of $45,000 from the FY20 budget. And this increase is due to scheduled uniform footwear replacements and housekeeping supplies. There are no expenses or budgeted in this category. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, turn to page 59, which is the revenue sheet, and you see in the left-hand column, left-hand box rather, the various revenues that are associated with dumpster fees, curb work, sidewalk contractors, and permits revenue. You'll see a total increase of $4,000 over the prior budget. And for this year, we are experiencing some diminished revenue associated with both dumpster fees as well as some diminishment, slight as it is, in permits revenue and sidewalk contractors. The total reduction of revenue this year is approximately $67,487. Moving to page 60, expenditures. Moving to the left box, salaries for the FY20 versus FY21 will show a increase of 134,000. I'm sorry, a decrease of $134,214 for the year. You'll see a increase in overtime of 20,000, while fire detail for city departments will remain flat or even at $10,000. Salaries for temps will remain level at $62,292, and longevity will have a slight increase of $2,787. Moving through benefits, which is the purview of the non-departmental. Street sweeping will see a reduction of $15,000. Miscellaneous expenses will stay the same at $25,000. Small tools and shop supplies will remain level funded at $15,000. And asphaltic products will have an increase of $25,000 over the prior year. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, if I can continue on page 61 to round out the expenses, and then we'll move back to the center box. So on page 61, at the left-hand box, we're looking at level funding for cement, plaster, and products. We're looking at a $10,000 increase in housekeeping supplies, a level funded for lumber and hardware, and a $10,000 increase in uniforms and wearing apparel. And then finally, in the category of structures and improvements, we maintained a budget of $100,000 in that category, equal to the prior year. If I can return to page 60, Mr. Chairman, center box comparing the operational expenses associated with the department. Street sweeping this year is expected to show a savings of $14,235 over the budget amount of $25,000. We expect that miscellaneous supplies or expenses will come in at just around at budget or below. Small tools and shop supplies, again, will come in at or below budget. And asphaltic products, once again, slightly over budget by $191. If I can turn your attention to page 61, center box, the collection of supplies, expenses associated with plaster, housekeeping, lumber, and uniforms, that entire group of supplies will more than likely come in around $8,900 below budget. And then lastly, the so-called structures and improvement account this year will probably spend somewhere around $24,000 under budget. Overall, this department should come in at or below budget. And that completes my narrative for today.
Thank you. So let's start off with the revenues, dumpster fees. Can you tell me what those are?
Yes,
So dumpster fees,
I can defer to the director who.
thank you, Larry. Dumpster fees are
What are they?
issued to, they're collected for dumpsters that are placed in the street. Our plan was this year to also collect them for private property, commercial entities as well. Back in January, we sent a letter to all the haulers in the city who have a license with the city to provide us with a list of all dumpsters that are located on private property, commercial or otherwise. And based on that, a permit was to be issued for those dumpsters. Our plan was to assess a fee come March for all those. But given the current situation, we've sort of changed our tact, and a letter is being sent to all those haulers indicating that all those dumpsters need to comply with the current rules and regulations, which means they have to be fenced on 3 sides, properly maintained, and properly emptied on a regular basis. That is expected as part of the license and as part of the permit going forward. And then in the new year, we expect to charge a fee for those dumpsters on private property. Given the current situation, we felt it was more important that we bring people into compliance and the fees be better spent on doing that rather than the money coming to the city during these difficult times.
Right, so there's a couple of things going on. There's one thing about regulating the types of dumpsters, like in back of, Cumberland Farms and McDonald's and liquor stores and stuff like that. And then there's the making sure that they're, putting it together. Like, for example, I noticed a new business in my ward opened up, but yet the building inspector ignored the fact that their dumpster, by city law, is not enclosed, doesn't have the gates, doesn't have the appropriate thing, and they just gave them their CO without that. It's a perfect example of not following the law. If the city doesn't follow the law, then how do you expect the individual? Now, more professional outfits, like, when you think of like chains, McDonald's and those places, they don't even need like cities or towns to do that. They make sure that's done, So just so people know the history, I actually wrote that law over a decade ago, and the city still hasn't begun the enforcement. So like they're just beginning now, January of 2020, to finally enforce a law that I wrote on the books a decade ago.
Mr. Chairman, I was
now,
aware
the
that
impetus
you
for
did
that was,
and that's the reason why we sent the letters out,
Director,
and that's the reason why we're doing.
Director, hang on, Director, hold on, please. You do not have the mic, sir. The impetus for that was because of the rodent and population. And if you drive through our neighborhoods, we have folks, listen, part of doing business is also keeping your business clean, and there's nothing worse when you see these overflowing dumpsters, not enclosed, and you go there during the day and at night, unfortunately, it becomes it's a nest for nuisances, So that's the reason why part of our rodent control policy is not only the homeowner and the landlord and the tenant living, using the recyclables. That was part of the recyclable process, and also the trash cans was to tamp down on rodent controls. That's how that all happened. Why we issued those types of cans, because it helped with that aspect. So the other big piece is, so we've done our part for the residents and the people who live here, but for the owners of businesses, we still haven't pushed it. So I'm glad to hear in January we begun this process, but I think what you need to do is you really need to force the enforcement portion that has to at least be enclosed, it has to be cleaned, it has to be, and then the companies themselves, they need to then it's the company that gets the ticket. The company that provides the dumpster gets the ticket. Okay? So it's in their best interest to clean it up. What happens with these companies is they leave it and walk away. But that's not our whether they get paid, that's not our problem. The problem is they're creating a nuisance. And it's, by the way, we're all talking about COVID-19. We're talking about creating a safe environment. We're talking about creating a safe and healthy environment. We're asking people to promote personal hygiene. We're asking people to social distancing. We're asking people to wear masks. So this is all in line with that whole initiative of creating a cleaner environment. So I would ask that this is something that you don't necessarily have to charge a permit right now, and that's fine if you want to forego that at this time, but you should issue a permit anyway, at least to start getting it online. Since you have everybody home anyway, this is something that person can begin that process, identifying it, getting a permit to that company, forego the first year fee if that's what you want to do, but then we can once the environment, when you get your people back to work, they can start now monitor it, and then when they don't, we then contact the company, the dumpster company, and it's their responsibility to pick it up and clean it and dump it. So here's an opportunity to push that. So I understand your point of not trying to get a fee for the permit, but you try to do everything you can to push to try to get the permit process going. You have everybody sitting home, they're doing nothing. This is a perfect ministerial paperwork job to do. They can at least have some people do something. It's like doing piecemeal work in the old days for jewelry companies, right? So this is something that you could at least get that portion up and running. Someone could do they could do a program, they could put it on your S drive and start creating a tracking system right now. You could have someone cleaning up all your filing issues. You have folks that you could be doing certain things to get ahead of some of your ministerial work also, and they can still do it from home. So this is a project that hopefully that before I'm done with my time here, hopefully we'll finally see at least half the laws that we put on the books over the years enforced by the city, and this is one of them. So I'm glad that you're beginning it, but I think that you should now push and execute at least the permit process. Okay? Next, I noticed that of course, your OT is high. It went up 73%. I would, God bless you, Gesundheit. So that's gone up. And I noticed that most recently, 51% of your highway divisions at home, not reporting and not working, and 48% are reporting. You got one, and also you got temps, you got temporary employees. What's going on with temps? Can you please tell me that? So are we have temps sitting home getting paid doing nothing also?
I believe we have 2 temps, and I believe they're reporting to work.
I mean, don't get me wrong. All right, and then also you got overtime again.
Mhm.
And here's the thing, I just want to make sure that you all know as director heads. What I'm concerned about is that, and I said, and we mentioned before that the city's in a financial crisis. I don't know if you folks have read the newspapers lately or what's really going on, but we have a financial crisis happening here. I know the perception is it's not, but there is. The present city's budget has financial problems, and the future one has financial problems. So if we're trying to see how to balance the fact that how do we continue to justify paying tax dollars for another month, another 2 months for folks that are sitting home doing nothing. So you guys really need to figure out how to really justify that, because that's coming down the line. And if you're telling me you can get the job done with the workforce you have, with half of them sitting home doing nothing, then it seems to me that maybe you don't need all that workforce. That's what it seems to be. This seems to be going. What's happening? You clearly don't seem to be skipping a beat from. Everything seems to be fine. You seem to be getting everything done. You're saying you're not behind. You're saying everything's great. So that implies that you don't need the workforce you have. So you're setting up your own demise if you folks don't start figuring how to manage and re-identify or recalculate your workforce. I hope you folks realize that. Okay? Because we will not be raising taxes in this budget, this new budget. We're not going to raise taxes. We will not be raising taxes to pay for the foibles of the department heads. So we're not going to be raising taxes. So if everybody's looking to raise taxes, it's not going to happen. You guys are going to have to figure out. So may want to start really understanding what's going on. If you haven't, Turner Lord and the Treasurer will be more than happy to brief you what's going on with the city's finances, and then you guys can start adjusting accordingly. But when you have half your workforce home getting paid doing nothing, and then you're still doing overtime, even the fire department's not doing it. I mean, it's kind of insulting, you know. So it's 7:30. I know we have further questions. I'll have my committee members. If you got like one question to ask right now, then we will continue all the rest till Thursday. So committee members, do you want to get deeper into this? What would you like to do? 1 second, Councilman. Committee members, do you have any questions? Okay, then.
No, sir, I'm all
1
set.
second. Vice Chair, you have a question? Councilman Espinal?
No, sir, I'm all set for now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Espinal? Oh, thank you, Vice
Mr.
Chair.
Chairman. Can we define overtime? Is it time worked above 40 hours, or is it time performed on the weekends and holidays? What are we looking at here?
So we're looking at work beyond the normal work schedule, called back on a weekend or called back in the evening hour. We've had a number of sewer backups, more so than usual, because people are at home. A number of sewer backups caused because people are using sanitary wipes, and that's causing issues with our sewer system. We did have a brief snow event a couple of weekends ago. I think it was April 17th, where we were predicting 2 to 4 inches through our weather service and through national weather. So we came in that Friday evening to treat the roads. So those are pretty much the circumstances where highway comes in on overtime. So it's above and beyond their normal work schedule. In the case of snow, it was on a Friday evening. And with sewer, it's been predominantly for sewer backups. So that's what we've been.
So over
dealing
the, so it's over the month and a half that we have had this pandemic. This overtime is not a tribute to anybody working over 40 hours because they're not. It's basically an emergency basis on the evening and on the weekend.
Right.
Isn't it? Is that what this is?
That's
All right,
exactly
just want to
what
have some clarification on that because it doesn't sound, since half or maybe more of the staff is staying home or working from home, that we're doing overtime. So I just want to clarify that it is on the special occasions.
Right, it's,
Thank you.
it's those emergency basis, it's after hours, it's weekends, yes.
Thanks.
Is that, so let me just get some clarification. So you're saying on all the overtime, it was always on emergency basis and on the weekends, Mr. Director?
That's correct, yep.
Okay, so, but those folks that were being called in, the issue, Councilman, is that some of the folks being called in were sitting home all week long, getting paid without working. Then you call them in on the weekend, and then you get them overtime. See, that's when you talk to the union, and you talk about creating shift, creating shift differential. Start working on finances and being creative on the city's finances. That's being honest about that we actually have some, how do I put it, that there's some financial urgency with the city budget. What both you gentlemen just described was business as usual, which is no problem, just bring them in, versus you have more than 71% of your workforce sitting home, getting paid, doing nothing for the 40 hours a week. That's the part. So you get to sit home all week long for 40 hours, get paid and don't work, and then they call you on the weekends for OT time. That's when you have a conversation with the unions, that's leadership, and you say, can we start creating a modified schedule so we can have some coverage when these types of events happen, so we can help defray some of the cost of having majority of our workforce sit home, getting paid, doing nothing. And I guarantee you, by the way, the unions most likely would negotiate that. That's leadership. That's the point. So I understand everyone wants to pretend it's business as usual, but it's not business as usual. The finances are serious, and we should be looking for innovative ways to save money for this present fiscal year and the upcoming fiscal year. That's the purpose. That's the challenge. And we look towards our department heads and our executive branch to look for those innovative ways. I know up in the State House, they've been doing that. I know other states they've been doing it, other cities and towns they've been doing it. So what we've been challenging the administration to do is to do the same. Because our job is hopefully to hold the line on taxes, Councilman Espinal. I'm sure that's what you would like to do, and other council members. But I'm sure you don't want to hear later on next term, the next year, the next upcoming budget, administration goes, you know what, we didn't do any changes, we didn't do innovative ways, we need to, and also they ask you to raise taxes or additional other hidden fees and stuff to pay for the shortfalls of not creating innovative ways with your workforce. That's leadership. That's what we're looking for. That's the challenge. And what we keep on hearing repeatedly is the only innovative way they've been dealing with is, well, have everybody stay home, no one works and get paid, and meanwhile, we'll just keep going that way. So there is ways in which you can do an innovative workforce, still provide the safety and security concerning this serious issue, and still get some work product done for the people of Providence. I believe in the glass is half full, not half empty. I believe in the challenge, and you accept the challenge, and you try to achieve a goal, not run away. So we're in a different mode, and I'm concerned about the finances of this present fiscal year and how we're going to handle it, how we're going to handle the shortfalls in this fiscal year, and how we're going to handle the upcoming budget. Because right now, the upcoming present budget before you is a budget that I would have expected if there was no COVID-19 emergency. It's the business as usual budget. And that's the part that doesn't make sense. That's the part that seems to be a big question mark. Seems to be only me and my committee members have a sense of financial urgency for the city of Providence's finances. Our goal is to get everybody, all our colleagues to also get that same sense and start realizing that we need to lessen and mitigate the hard decisions that's coming before us. And that's the goal here. So that's why I'm asking these questions, and I'm clarifying, I'm gonna keep asking these questions, because I'm looking for a director to say, we created a new innovative way. We have this process. There's ways to deal with this. And the first step is, instead of asking the unions, actually asking only one union to give up something, maybe you should talk to the union and talk about how to make city government work better. And you know what? They would be receptive. Every union would be, because everybody wants to get through this as unscathed as possible. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to challenge the executive branch to stop promoting innovative ways so we can move forward in a safe environment. Chief Taylor, did you have a question, sir? Chief Taylor, you muted yourself, or someone muted you?
Oh, no, I'm all set.
Chief Taylor? Okay, all right. So it's getting late in the evening. I want to thank everybody. What we're going to ask to do is we're going to ask to continue the rest of this conversation for Thursday. We're going to have a meeting on Tuesday, committee members, and we're not going to have a meeting on Wednesday. We're going to have a meeting on Thursday. So you have a little bit of, because there's another meeting on Wednesday. So can I have a motion to continue this item till next Thursday's finance meeting?
So moved.
Did I hear that from Vice
So
Chair?
moved.
Second.
Yes,
Vice
you
Chair
did.
Second.
So
Do I
moved.
have a second? Councilman.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Mr. Mancini,
Aye.
Director Parada,
Aye.
Mr. Urso, Hockman, okay, all in favor? Great. Want to thank you all
Aye.
for participating this evening. Thank the clerks once again. Motion to adjourn by Vice Chair. Second by Councilman
Motion
Taylor.
adjourned.
Second.
Thing.
Second.
Yep, second. All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Aye.
Thank you all. Be